Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, my dear students. Our current session focuses on language and dialect in Papua New Guinea. I hope and expect by the end of this session you would be able to understand the status of language and dialects in this area. Well, my dear students, the greatest concentration of diversity is found in Melanesia, that is an area comprising the southwest Pacific island nations of Papua New Guinea. This is of the Solomon Islands, Vanuatu, New Caledonia, and Fiji. Well, here almost 1,500 languages are spoken by people, with as many as half found in Papua New Guinea overall. Most of the languages here are spoken by small groups of people, and you would be surprised that 40% have even the number of speakers that is less than 500 speakers for each of these languages. So in this sense, we can say that there is a huge diversity of languages in this area. Well, New Britain is one of the larger islands in the Bismarck archipelago off the northern east coast of the island of New Guinea, which lies just 100 miles north of the tip of Queensland, Australia. When we talk of it politically, well, politically speaking, the islands are a part of Papua New Guinea, independent since 1975. And the island of New Britain is divided into two provinces, East and West New Britain. Well, in the part of Northwest New Britain, to be discussed here in this particular session where I would be focusing on, people live in very small villages, and all these villages are just across, they're lined up across the coast. The whole area is multilingual. The whole area consists of small villages where, with very small population and with multiplicity of languages in use by these people. These are the characteristics of the life here. I will share with you 10 examples of the same, utterance in different languages and its variations in different languages to illustrate how people in different villages would request for the same thing when they would talk about. So if they would request someone to give them betel nut to chew, betel nut, that is supari as we call it. So if they would ask somebody to give that to chew, how they would talk about. As I've already said, betel nut is a small green nut of the betel palm that is generally used to chew, and it is typically chewed with lime pepper as well in these areas. It turns mouth, as I hope you know, into a reddish color, and it is spat out later on. Well, my dear students, if you look at the screen, you would see here 10 examples numbered here. These are all the examples of 10 different languages from this area where people would ask for this betel nut in, the same way, but the language would vary. This particular, the left side area, for example, Woa, Boa, or Azim, or Alep, etc. These are all the varieties of the words that are used for betel nut. Whereas this me, or inama or inam, this shows come. Here to be used as give, this is the third person singular pronoun for which it is used. And this right side words, nagat, nagas, or, see the variations, see these differences. And even this one, these all are variations that are used for first singular form of chew. So, you can see that there are certain similarities that you can notice in certain, for example, here there are similarities. For example, here you can see similarities. And then again, some part of this is similar to this, though this part is different from this. So, there are certain similarities in these languages, but there are certain differences as well, which make them distinctive from each other. Well, my dear students, linguistics generally deals with all these varieties of languages, and linguists recognize two major language families within the area of Papua New Guinea. They comprise between 700 to 800 languages. So, 700 to 800 languages that are used in this area can be categorized majorly under two particular language families. And these families are which ones? If you look at the screen, Austronesian and non-Austronesian or Papuan. However, my dear students, in Papua New Guinea, there is no one-to-one mapping between village names, groups, and language names. What does it mean? For example, if we look at our own social context and our own geographical context, you would agree with me that there is one name for each village, and then the language that is used there would have a particular name. It is not the case here in the case of Papua New Guinea. So sometimes up to 4 local names are associated with one village, and a district officer would decide to call a village with whichsoever the name he would like to call it with. In addition, many groups have no special names for their languages. There are certain languages which are not even labeled with particular names. For example, the Seer people of Sepik, they call their language Seer, but the word Seer itself means what? It means to speak or to talk. Now, what are the justifications of all this sociolinguistic phenomenon that is taking place there? Explanations for the existence of all this extreme kind of fragmentation in this area, can be given on the basis of certain factors. The first factor is that there is a long history of human existence in this area. 40,000 years of human habitation in this area has provided a long time period over which, all these diversities within language have established. Secondly, the kind of terrain it is, the kind of geographical area it is, the kind of area with its mountains and all that which divides different parts, the kind of area which does not allow movement and traveling very easily. So it has isolated people into different groups and different, tribes, and has restricted them to certain small geographical areas. The result is that social interaction is very less, which has, of course, affected the language choices, and each of these smaller groups or the villages, then they have their own language. The third factor that has contributed is the cultural attitude. Cultural attitude, as I hope you know, plays a very important role in language choices, and when it comes to this area, because of the geographical settings and because of the historical tradition, each of the villages and each of the groups, they take pride in, being associated with their particular language. This cultural attitude towards, marking certain languages with certain identities has played a very, very important role in creating a huge diversity of languages in this area. So diversity is cultivated in Melanesia as a badge of identification. People feel proud to be associated with a certain language that they are linked with. Overall, what I would say is it is a very, very complicated situation where it is very difficult even to draw language between, to draw lines between languages and between, dialects. And this complexity of the situation can be very interesting for the students of sociolinguistics.